Welcome all, Fins Nation. This is your boy, Fins Mechanic, here live with the crew, the usual suspects. And before I introduce our special guest, I want to remind everyone to make sure to sign up for prizepicks.com, the official fantasy partner of 5 Reasons Sports. Now legal in the state of Florida, sign up with the code 5 and make your first $5 play, and Prize Picks will give you $50 more to play. No strings attached. So remember, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and you'll get $50 more to play with no string attached. All right, guys? Now, without further ado, Jamal St. anchor, sports anchor for Jax 4. Am I saying that correctly? The
News 4 Jackson. But yeah.
News 4 Jackson.
That's
yes.
It. Thank you for having me on, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. Before we kind of dive into the questions, we kind of want to get to know a little bit about you. If you can give the audience a little information about, how you got to becoming a news anchor, sports anchor. I'm sorry.
I'm born and raised from New Orleans, Louisiana. Went to Clark Atlanta University. Been bouncing around the TV industry for a little bit now. I worked in Texas for a little while. Spent about 5 years in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and now I'm going on year 5 or 6 here in Jacksonville. So I've been covering the Jaguars since 2019. So I've been doing it for a little bit. Kind of been through some downs. Weathered the Urban Meyer storm, but here we are. And I played a little college football at Clark Atlanta, so this was a way that I could stay talking about a game that I was not good enough to be playing.
Welcome to the club, man.
There you go. Hey, when and I figured it out. There you go.
Same here. Are you originally Jacksonville Jaguars fan, or you have a team preference? I don't know if
I was born in New Orleans. My whole family Saints fans. I was born into a Saints fan family. So as long as it ain't the Falcons, we good. You know what I mean? Like that's where the line's drawn.
I never met nobody from North that's not a Nolo fan. So I don't know.
That's it. As long as it got New Orleans on the jersey, you already know what it is. But I tell people all the time, like, I was fortunate enough to see the Saints win that first Super Bowl as a fan, and I remember what that did for that fan base. So I know about a lot of the downtimes for that franchise. So I kind of been able to kind of see the parallels with this Jaguars fan base, where they've seen a lot of the downs. And if they ever could see that up, like I feel like I know what's on the other side of the door if they ever got there, which is the really cool part that I think I'd really like to be able to see them enjoy.
Man, you're preaching to the choir, man. We feel the same way. But, so far, 2 years in a row, a winning season. So up and up, man, as we continue. So let me get started here now. This 2004 roster, how do you feel about it overall?
24.
I'm sorry.
I'm about to say, man, you dug back in.
My bad, y'all.
I'm about to have to hit Google for that one.
I know, right? So the 2024 roster for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it overall with the roster acquisitions, the draft, and all that? Let's start off with the offense first. How do you feel about the roster so far?
Look, I think it's different from what they had a year ago. They made some changes. They in the wide receiver group, they went and got Brian Thomas Jr. They went and got Gabe Davis. I think that the Jaguars offense there's a lot of consistency with some of the pieces. Travis Etienne back, Trevor Lawrence is back, but the wide receiver room does look a little bit different. My biggest concern on the Jaguars offense is where's the offensive line at? Offensive line struggled a little bit last year. They made one change at center, bringing in Mitch Morse. But overall, it's that same offensive line group. We'll see what they can do healthy because they were a little banged up last year. But I think that this is the best group of wide receivers or weapons that Trevor Lawrence has had around him since he's been in the NFL. So, I mean, some of those groups look bad on paper, but I think this is the best group of weapons that he's had to work with.
Now let's transition back to the defense. What are the roster so far? I'm not sure. I think I was researching a little bit. You guys have a couple cornerback changes. So overall, how does the defense look in that part of the roster?
Yeah, new defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen came to Jacksonville after leaving Atlanta.
Before you do all that, quick,
Yeah.
who gonna guard Tyreek? Who gonna guard Tyreek? Who you gonna double team or triple team him? Slide everybody to the left, everybody to the right. Who gonna cover Tyreek? Who gonna guard Tyreek? Who you got in your staff, man? Who gonna?
I mean, look, I think they're gonna have to let Tyson Campbell try it. So, I mean, Tyson Campbell, when he was healthy 2 years ago, he was good. Last year he was banged up. So he's healthy again. Now whether or not he's gonna be able to do it, we gonna see. Look, Tyreek. I ain't even gonna cap. But I think that's who has to figure out. I mean, they haven't said whether or not they're gonna let him follow him around on the field or not. But Tyson Campbell's the guy. They just gave Tyson Campbell a contract extension right before training camp. 2 years ago, if you go back and look, Tyson Campbell was playing really good football. Last year, injuries kind of bogged him down. He was never really able to get healthy. So I think he's going to be in store for kind of a bounce back campaign. They clearly think that. That's why they gave him the contract extension. It just so happens he's going to get a big test in week 1.
You're going to see them hammies. If see him worked out for real, baby.
How's Ronald Darby looking on the other side? And I know you guys added Darnell Savage and and Andre Cisco. He's in line for a big payday as well coming up. So what's the word on the rest of the boys back there in the secondary?
Yeah, Darby's going to get the start at that other corner spot. So he's looked solid through camp. I mean, he's that veteran presence in what they want to do on defense, which they're going to play a lot of man coverage. That's what Ryan Nielsen does. That's kind of his defensive thing. Darnell Savage played a lot of safety in Green Bay. He's going to be the nickel guy, so he's going to play a lot in the slot for the Jags this go round. Andre Cisco, he had a really good training camp. He's a guy who's in line for a payday this offseason. I think he's going to be in line for a big season overall. Your other safety is going to be Antonio Johnson. He was a late round draft pick a year ago going into year 2, but he was kind of a steal on day 3 of the draft. A guy I really liked coming out of school, and he played well for the Jaguars in like spot duty last year. So he's going to start at that other safety. The secondary is going to be interesting because there's just so many kind of different pieces there and things that moved around.
We have a fan question. How has Mitch Morris looked specifically at the center position for you guys? Is it looking like an upgrade so far?
Yeah, look, he's definitely an upgrade for Jacksonville. Mitch Morris has been a veteran guy. We were talking to Travis Etienne today, and he said it's like running behind a refrigerator. So he said he loves it. He said Travis literally said he really enjoys Mitch because he thinks Mitch moves really well as an offensive guy, as an offensive lineman for that size. So he's the new piece on the Jaguars offensive line and probably putting a lot of pressure on him to try and stabilize what was kind of an unstable group a year ago. So we'll see. I think he's looked good so far. The test is obviously going to be on Sunday when they get that first game with pads on. But it's going to be interesting. I think they have a lot of pressure on him because they're basically saying, all right, put a new center in there and this whole offensive line is going to be much better. But just how much of a difference can Mitch make?
Right. So what are you most confident about going into this matchup this Sunday? And what are you most concerned about as far matchup wise?
I mean, the most concerned spot, period, as far as like matchups, has got to be covering those receivers. I mean, Tyreek and Waddle they're fast. That's going to be a test. Like I said, Ryan Nielsen. I mean, last year in Atlanta, his defense has played the most man coverage in the NFL by a pretty wide clip. And all the players keep saying, look, we're going to be a man-to-man defense. Well, who's going to cover both of them? Like, you're going to put Tyson on one of them and you maybe going to put Darby on the other one. And that's going to be a challenge because those guys are quick. I mean, I asked Doug Peterson what stands out to him about the Dolphins offense today. And he said, speed. I mean, it's about that simple. So most concerned for the Jags, you got to figure out how to cover those guys. Most confident for them, I think that the Jaguars defensive line group is going to be really good this season. So I feel good about that matchup against the Dolphins O-line, that they should be able to kind of try and hopefully speed up the clock. But Tua already does a really good job of getting the ball out quick. So It's one of those kind of things. Josh Hines-Allen had a huge season a year ago. He should be in line to do that again. Trayvon Walker got double-digit sacks a year ago, and he really likes this new defensive scheme where he's not thinking about dropping back into coverage anymore. He knows he's going forward the whole time. And then you add in Eric Armstead, who is a really good to say, oh, well, I just counted to the third guy. And Eric Armstead is by far not like a third amigo in the NFL when it comes to defensive line guys. So I think they have a really good group there, solid. They also got a second-round pick that's struggling to figure out how he can get into the rotation in Mason Smith. So I think that Jaguars defensive line group is going to be where I kind of probably feel the best about their matchups going into this game.
Man, that front seven is scary. It's scary. I ain't gonna lie to you. And from our perspective, we have our offensive line questions. So it's a perfect game to just start because you mano a mano, let's see what's up. Let's see if we did make the improvements, and let's see if Eric Armstead's a dog. That's nothing to sneeze at. Like, oh yeah, man, Eric Armstead. That's crazy. That is insane. I didn't even remember till you mentioned it to me. Yeah, they added him. That's insane, man.
Yeah, he's going to be a big addition for that defensive line group for real. Because, I mean, he's going to be able to move around the line, play outside, play inside. And you already add in Hines-Allen, who had a really big year a year ago. And Trayvon Walker kind of feels like he's another guy who might be ready to take maybe another step. Like he quietly got to 10 sacks a year ago. Maybe he can make allowed 10 sacks this year.
Certainly going to give us a – my bad, go ahead.
Real quick, friends. No, question for you. How's Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma and Foyesade Aloyakun? Well, how are they in coverage? Like, what do you think there's some deficiencies there?
It's going to be interesting to see. So the previous defensive staff played a ton of zone. They played a ton of zone. That's what they did. So now bringing in this new defensive staff that wants to play more man coverage, to be 100% honest, I mean, the Jaguars with the past defensive staff played some of the lowest amounts of man coverage in the league. So how they're going to be able to cover up with this, we're going to see. I think Devin Lloyd has some really good movement skills. So does Foye. But we just haven't seen them asked to do those things a ton. I mean, I don't think they're crazy enough to think that either one of them is going to run with Achane or Mostert if they start like trying to get the wheels rolling. Like that's just not happening. But maybe a tight end, yeah. They can probably run with those guys and they're okay. I'd say Foye is I'd probably give him I'd say he's probably the better coverage guy out of the three.
Yeah, that's interesting because I want to stick to the defense because it's you talked about the speed of what Doug Peterson was mentioning. Mm-hmm. So, in your opinion, or from what you've seen with the new defensive coordinator, how do you mitigate? How do you kind of prevent that speed from being successful on the field? Because sometimes I know that we mentioned about Tua being a fastest release quarterback NFL, but sometimes that with pressure or adding more blitz, adding an extra man to blitz, sometimes that can affect the quarterback. So in your opinion, do you see more blitzing possibly happening? What do you think their method or their approach to this game will be?
Attack. I mean, the buzzword right now that they're using is attack. That's how they want this defense to be described. That's what they want to do. They want offenses to try and adjust to slow them down. So they're going to try and attack and keep the pressure on and do what they want to do out there rather than trying to adjust to the offense as much. We're going to see. Like, to be 100% honest, with Ryan Nielsen being a new defensive coordinator, we've seen training camp, we've seen preseason, we've seen a drop in the bucket of what he really wants to do. So Sunday for us is going to be trying to see what this Jaguars defense is really going to look like out there on the field. But the one thing that has been consistent that they say they want to do is they want to be an attacking, aggressive defense. They're going to go 100 miles an hour, and they're going to try and disrupt the offense and make the offense try and adjust to slow them down. So, yeah, I think that means that they're going to try and put some different pressures. They're going to stack the box and show some simulated pressures. You'll see guys line up like they're coming for a blitz and then bail out. different things like that to try and make this offense have to adjust. Oh, the pressure's coming from this side. Oh, it's not. It's actually coming from the backside, or everybody bailed out. Things like that. So I would expect that you see a lot of things like moving pieces from the defense. They're going to do a couple of different personnel shifts and things of that nature as they try and mitigate that speed as much as possible. And those are the things that we know. As far as what we don't know is like, what's the rotation going to look like on the defensive line? All I know is that they keep saying they're going to rotate guys out. Who's going where? What are their personnel going to look like on third downs? When you got Eric Armstead, is Eric going to play? That's what we got to see. We got questions like Eric Armstead's listed as a defensive end. Is he going to play more at defensive tackle or defensive end?
We're going to see. Literally Calais Campbell out here, man. But I'm the weapons guy here. So we going to talk about the offense, but let's transition over to the offense. ATN is finally it's his team as a running back. And you mentioned earlier about having the weapons and stuff like that. I would like to see what like your envision of what your team would look like, because here we want to be balanced. We used to say we want to pass to run, but I want to run to pass now. So and create balance. What would you say your outlook towards your season and offense would be like?
Doug Peterson would like balance. He does get away from that some. But when the running game's working, he'll go back to it. So I think they'd like to stay balanced if they could. Like, I don't think that if they had their way, I don't know that Trevor Lawrence will ever put up gaudy numbers, like those crazy numbers that you see. Like, even if he turned in, to this elite guy, if they have their way and the offense is rolling, I just don't think they would do that, because they would prefer to be balanced and take what the defense gives and run the ball here, throw the ball there type thing. Like, I just don't ever see this offense under Doug Peterson being one of those that supports a bunch of like fantasy football guys. Like, I like fantasy football. I don't think that this is an offense that's going to support 2 or 3 receivers that people are going to be wanting to roster. I just don't. Because that's how they want to run it. They prefer to spread the ball out. They're not going to force like funnel looks toward one guy. They're going to try and create a matchup. Oh, this guy's on a linebacker. This is the one we want to take advantage of. That's how they run it. And that's what they want to prefer. So they would love to be balanced. 100% they would love to be balanced. But at the end of the day, they're going to go with whatever's working. I mean, to be honest, and a lot of times that does tend to, at least early in the season last year, Travis Etienne was working and the running game was rolling and they were feeding him. And then toward late in the season, the running game wasn't working. So then it was all on Trevor's arm, and then Trevor was hurt, and it was all unraveling. So, look, if the running game ain't working early, they will get away with it, and they would like forgot that they could hand the ball off. That's just how it works sometimes.
That's crazy.
So Jamal, you guys got BTJ in the draft this year, and you picked up Gabe Davis. What's the expectation as far as like the target share on offense? Do you still think that Evan Ingram will be a bigger piece of the passing game than those 2 new acquisitions, or do you think he'll still be pretty much him and Kirk's show going forward?
I think that the pecking order is going to go Christian Kirk at the top. Evan's probably still going to be your second. I'd say Gabe and Brian Thomas Jr. I think it's going to just depend on how far along BTJ is. Like they have a vision for how they're going to use him. And the question is just how much capacity does he have and how successful is he? I don't think they're going to like overflow him with stuff. Like right now, if I was just eyeballing it, I'd say that Gabe probably gets more targets than BTJ. But I'd say Gabe probably finishes with more catches and BTJ might finish with more yards. Because they're going to try and use him to stretch the field. If your safety, isn't deep, they're going to try and take that shot play because that's what he is. He's big, tall, fast, and that's the plays he made at LSU. So where he can do that, as opposed to where Gabe's this big body receiver that can also stretch the field, but they're going to look to him to make some of those tougher catches in the intermediate. So it's going to be interesting to see how the pecking order rolls down, but I would Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, I'd say Gabe will have more catches, but I'd say Brian Thomas Jr. probably finishes with a few more yards. Both of them probably somewhere in that like 700-800 yard range by the end of the year.
He's gonna definitely have more yards. Like the kid is explosive. You can't teach that. You cannot teach that. We were praying he fell to us. Oh my word.
Yeah, I don't think when they had joint practices with the Buccaneers, man, he was giving them Bucs DBs fits, and it was like, okay, y'all know it's coming, and somehow like both days he was just behind them, and it wasn't like he was just barely behind the guy. It was like the guy was like 10 yards the other way, and you're like, well, where the DB went? He just left him. He one of them guys that just run fast, and he like if you just looking at him, you don't realize how fast he's running until he's just gone.
He's an LSU. He's an LSU guy. Like, what are we talking about? You guys, it's like it's something in the water over there. Stop playing me, man. Stop. Like, it really became wide receiver. You even Olave. What are you doing? Like, no. Miss you with it. Even Olave that he plays with the Saints. He kind of like because it went away with Chalk and the rest of these guys not being dogs, but. Nah, man, BTJ's bringing y'all boys back. That boy is nasty. He's just nasty. He's nasty. He was born to run and catch the football. That's what he was supposed to do. That's insane.
Yeah, man, and once he puts it all together, it's gonna be amazing for the offense. I want to stick to the passing game because for our offense, we're trying to incorporate more of Ah-Chan, who's a running back, but we're trying to use him as a receiver. In moments, is that what they're gonna probably do with ATN as well? Since you kind of have to slowly cook Thomas Jr. as he progressed with his route.
They got Tag Bigsby there too now. They got
Tag Bigsby, yeah. But I know ATN was here last year, so he knows the offense. He looks like he has the ability to catch the ball and make plays. Do you feel they're going to incorporate the running back as a receiver?
Yeah, I think some out of the backfield. They're going to be looking to try and get him to catch a few more passes than maybe he has in years past. Infamously, when Urban Meyer first drafted him, that was his hope was to make Travis Etienne into a slot receiver.
It was insane. I remember even when he talked about it was crazy.
Right?
Urban Meyer was
he was unhinged. He was unhinged. I mean, like I don't know, but that was originally his plan. I remember going to training camp and they were lining him up in the slot, and they didn't want us to talk about it because he was like the secret weapon. Because they wanted him to be this slot receiver. Turns out he's a pretty good running back. Who'd have thought the guy that was a really good running back at Clemson would be a decent running back in the NFL?
And one.
But yeah, I think they'll try and get the ball in his hands a few ways. He's a dangerous guy. I mean, man. You talk about speed. Etienne's got speed, and he's a guy that they have to figure out how to get him the ball in space. And I think that's what the Dolphins are saying. The same thing with Achane, where they're just trying to figure out how to get this fast guy the ball in space and let him do what he naturally does.
Exactly. They're wasting his talent if they don't pass him the ball. Like he did that at Syracuse. I was shocked. Like it was a shocking pick given the fact that they still had good running backs out there. But Etienne, you got to get on the ball. No matter how, you got to figure out a way. Screen, if it's screens, if it's dump offs, he's the hot route. Like he has to get the ball. Like he's your off. If you don't want Sunshine to get hurt and be exposed, no dump passes. Help him out.
I think screens is something that I can see the Jags do to incorporate him.
Sunshine was hurting. You saw Sunshine at the end of the season. They were teeing up on Sunshine. They were just coming off the edge and hitting that boy like it was on purpose. Trust me, I'm a Tua fan. I see I feel like first because I had a couple fantasy players. I think it was it was Calvin Ridley, and I was watching at the end of the season. They were teeing off on this kid. It was crazy. The NFL is wild. You could sometimes they call some soft roughing the passer, but Sunshine took some hits. Boy got heart. He got heart. I give it to him. He got heart.
Yeah, he got beat up last year, man. Beat up bad,
man. It was bad. It was crazy. I promise you, I had Calvin Ridley, and I would watch games for him to be successful. And it'll be plays that I will see Evan Ingram catch the ball on leak out. So I think ATN could definitely take that step forward for you guys. But yeah, he took a lot of pain, man. Evan Cannon, you got score predictions next, or what we got? Because I think we're gonna beat them like
we could take some fan questions. If anybody out there has some questions for Jamal, feel free to send them through. Jamal, I did want to ask you, since we were just talking about Trevor Lawrence, him and Tua similarly fighting for contracts in the offseason.
Mhm.
Now that he's been paid, what's the expectations for him this upcoming season, and specifically for this Sunday? What do you think he's going to do? What are you expecting from him?
Look, I mean, Trevor is who he is day to day. The contract doesn't change anything for his prep. They just kind of want to keep seeing him take those steps forward. And I mean, they've really felt pretty good about where Trevor was at before he started getting beat up late in the season. I mean, when he was healthy, they were 8-3. And then next thing you know, he had the ankle injury where he kind of got helped off the field. Then it was the concussion. He also had a shoulder injury mixed in there. I mean, late in the year, he was just beat up. And that's when the kind of wheels came off the thing. So they're hoping that he can kind of pick up where he was early in the year where he was healthy and even try and take another step forward with this wide receiver or weapons that he has around him on offense, whether it be Travis Etienne, whether it's Evan Ingram or Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr., to where he kind of has these pieces and ownership of the offense. So they want to see him keep taking those steps forward. I've been here as long as Trevor, and we've seen the light come on for brief periods. My thing with Trevor is at some point, we're still waiting to see the light come on for him for a whole season. That's the one thing, or I think the one really big question that he still has to answer is can that light switch come on and he be that guy over the course of the full year, not just a stretch.
Sunshine.
I do see a lot of parallels with our team and your team.
He's a victim of his own success. It's the same thing with Tua. He's a victim of his own success. The moment he got in Clemson, he was a winner. He left a winner. He was supposed to save a franchise in Jacksonville that it's really hard to save. They should have drafted Tebow. That's just me, but that's me. They should have drafted Tebow for tickets, but they didn't want to do that. And you want to save Jacksonville, you got to help them and give them time. Same way with the Dolphins. You got to give these guys time. Yep. Just because they were successful at top-rated programs where they get 5 stars everywhere, I mean, they come to a mediocre football team and build it in 1 year. It takes 3 to 4 or 5 years to do things like that. But people don't understand that.
You got to put talent around them, too. I mean, looking at like Trevor Lawrence's supporting cast when he first got to Jacksonville, it was DJ Chark, who's been bouncing around ever since, Marvin Jones Jr., who was on the backside of his career, and Laviska Shenault. And Laviska has been a guy who the Jaguars traded to Carolina. He couldn't catch on in Carolina. I think he's in Seattle now. I don't even know if he made the 53, but he's been a guy who bounced around. So, I mean, those were his main 3 receivers. I mean, it was when Urban was here in Trevor's second year. Oh, no, that was Trevor's first year. But they traded for Dan Arnold, who from the Carolina Panthers to be – and at one point he was like the focal point of the offense. And I don't know if Dan Arnold's caught a pass in the NFL since he left Jacksonville.
Exactly. I'm trying to figure that out too. Yeah,
exactly.
A tight end.
He's a tight end,
bro. Yes, bro. Yes.
But the cupboard was bare. I mean, like flat out, it was bare. When Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke kind of took over, they went and got some guys. Went and got Evan Ingram. They went and got Christian Kirk and started trying to put pieces around him. That's why I said earlier. I mean, this is the best wide receiver group from top to bottom that he's had. And it ain't close. And I've seen the Dolphins try and do the same thing with Tua. I mean, you got to give the guys to work with. Go get Tyreek, go get Jalen Waddle. I mean, so that way it's not just them trying to do it all.
And you could be like, hey, he's not good. If he can't throw the Tyreek and Waddle or in your case, your receivers, hey, we don't have a quarterback.
Right.
So you gotta help them find out. You can't have shortchange these guys, and I feel a lot of people do that, man.
When Trevor was a rookie, it was bad, man. I mean, they were bringing in guys. I mean, a lot of the receiver core hasn't played much football elsewhere since they left Jacksonville. I mean, guys were running into each other. Nobody was open. I mean, it was bad. So, and I'm sure it was similar there. But you got to get the guys, people around them that are open to even figure out if they can play quarterback. Because nobody open, what you want them to do?
Our best wide receiver was Devontae Parker.
See? Yep.
Yeah. We're a long way from that. Thankfully.
Thank God.
They prioritize the weapons so much so and that they've kind of somewhat, in a lot of fans' eyes, neglected the offensive line to a certain extent. But I feel like with the continuity and the chemistry we'll build, we can be fine. Tua gets rid of the ball quickly. We have the tight end that we added and Jonnu Smith, and like Etienne, they're going to look to get Achane more involved in the passing game and probably allow Jalen Wright and Mostert to do a little bit more of the carries in between the tackles and have him doing a little bit of everything. So it's just really interesting, those parallels, and especially with Doug Peterson going into his third year as well. A lot of similarities with, because a lot of fans were interested in Doug Peterson. He was Moreno's backup. I'm not sure if So a lot of people were kind of, when the time was McDaniel, was him, and a few other guys that were, of interest to us as coaching candidates. But now you guys got your guy, and he's got Trevor, and Trevor got paid, and Tua's got paid now because of the guy that he's got in place. So there's a lot of parallels there, man. What are you thinking about this game Sunday? Any score predictions? Are you comfortable making one?
A score prediction on this one, man. Like the full trend, I think the Jaguars are going to have a good year. I think they're going back to the playoffs. But I do think I think the Dolphins are going to win this one. I think I pick Miami to win. I'd say it's something like, 35-28, something like that, somewhere in that vicinity. I think this. I just think this is tough. I think that Jaguars defense is going to have a tough time slowing down Tyreek and Waddle and Achane and Mostert. And I really think that Jaguars offense is going to have a tough time keeping up. Just because I feel like the Dolphins are going to put up points. That's just what's going to happen. So I think it's going to be a tough game. I think Miami's going to come out and put it on them a little bit. And then they'll have to bounce back in week 2.
I think you guys it's definitely not the first team you want. Actually, yes and no, but you can see the worst of the top of the peaks if we play it according to ourselves. So you can see where your defense is gonna be like yo, we already seen the worst. You're not gonna see probably a better offensive attack, so it kind of works out. Right. I have a similar score because we have a new defense as well, so I think it's gonna be a shootout. I think it's gonna be definitely a shootout. I'm in a 27-24 range. A late field goal does it, something like that. So I want to beat the brakes out of you guys though, because I'm still mad at that Marino debacle, and I'm still mad. I'm never going. I got pressure for Jackson.
Man, they sent that out bad, man.
What?
They sent that out bad.
They still talk about it too. They still talk about it,
brother. The thing is that we all had hope, and it was a Saturday afternoon. As a kid, you got nothing to do. There's no internet. There is nothing. All you have is pain. You lost it. It was pain.
They just kept scoring, bro. I'm like, yo, what's going on?
I remember Zach Thomas trying to tackle Fred Taylor on the sideline, and all you saw was him galloping. I was like, nah, this is the end.
This is a bad day.
Well, Jamal, man,
7 is a little bit more than a bad day. But
Go ahead,
though, Finn. Sorry.
No, you're good. Jamal, we appreciate you for coming through. Any final thoughts before you get going? I appreciate the time to hang out with us to kind of get behind the enemy lines.
Let people know where they can find you. Are you guys working on any coverage for the game this weekend?
Yeah. We got plenty of coverage. If you're looking for Jags coverage, head over to newsforjags.com. You can follow me over on Twitter or any social media. It's just JSTCYR TV. Appreciate y'all having me on. It's always fun to talk about it. I said I love the Dolphins offense. I think I got a book that breaks down like what Mike McDaniels does at the house, just with plays and stuff in it. Just because I really like some of the stuff that they do on offense and the way he designs it. And I mean, there's a lot of power. So I'm looking forward to this game just as an excuse to watch. So it'll be fun.
Are you going to the game or are you watching it from home?
No, I'm gonna watch it from Jacksonville. We're gonna stay home for this one.
I feel you. I'm doing the same thing.
Man, nobody doing that.
All righty, Jamal. You have a good one, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, my brother, have a good one, man.
All right, see y'all. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Hey, man, that was a good.
You try to have that brother drive down 6 hours, man. Hey, man, that's a cool brother, man. I knew he meant business when he pulled up with that shirt. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have a show today.
Not the shirt.
he button up shirt like he got out.
He clean.
He pressed down over here like, I gotta spiffy it up now. But yeah, man. I mean, we share some sentiments. It's funny how like we're so alike in so many ways.
Right. Yeah. I was
Like
Yeah.
degrees of separations are not that far apart. Doug Peterson used to be a Dolphin quarterback. Doug Peterson could have been our head coach.
mm-hmm.
People wanted a tank for Sunshine. They're in the same transition. They just pay Sunshine. We just pay Tua. They're putting in a new defense.
Right.
They're adding more weapons to the offense to help Trevor Lawrence. They want to run the ball more. It's literally, it's so. Isn't that the what did they say, Chad? The NFL is such a it's like is a what is
A copycat league?
a copycat and a parody
Yeah.
league. Like everybody goes to the same thing, so it's insane, man. It's insane.
That's why I asked him the question about Etienne, because he does look like he has that ability to catch the ball or line up as a slot receiver. So when he mentioned about Thomas Jr. kind of being limited with the reps,
wanted to draft him, right?
Yeah, I wanted to. I did.
wanted to draft him.
Yeah, absolutely. Etienne's nice.
He's good. He's really good. I'll tell you one thing: we would have drafted him. We would never had A-Chain. Probably would have had Jalen Wright, but we wouldn't have had A-Chain.
I can see that.
Maybe.
I can see that.
Maybe there's
So now-
they're similar. Similar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overlap there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
just a quick little update for looks like we have our injury report. Real quickly, I'll just Teron Armstead, Calais Campbell look like they did not practice today with the vet rest. It looks like it's been a vet rest in totality, in my opinion. Some of them just mention of the reason of the vet rest. Jalen Phillips with the Achilles coming off of that injury. Jalen Ramsey has finally announced that hamstring, so he did not practice. So it's going to be interesting to see how we move forward the rest of the week. Everybody else has been limited, with the exception of Javon Holland. Looks like he was a full participant. But Quentin Bell, Aaron Brewer, that's a good sign. Limited. Kendall Fuller, Benito Jones, David Long, Jordan Poyer, Anthony Walker, and Malik Washington all were limited in practice. With only Jacksonville having the safety Daniel Thomas as a limited in their injury report. Any thoughts to that?
I ain't really tripping. I'm not really tripping.
Look, with Ramsey with the hamstring, we gotta be careful with that.
Yeah,
you want to leave that for last, because I think we got to talk about that for the people.
I mean, we do gotta talk about it, but like I just be careful with that. But as far as the vet rest and all of that, I think that's to be expected with this roster. We have the oldest roster in the NFL. Not by much, but but it's the oldest roster in the NFL. We got some guys that are of age, are vets who don't really need a lot of practice, who are kind of skew that number, because we got a bunch of young talent as well, right? So it's those older guys those vets, the Poyers, the Armsteads, and what I'm saying, the Calais Campbells and stuff like that. Those elder vets who are a little bit more established in the NFL, who they don't really necessarily need to be out there every day of the week. Like, what I mean? We've been prepping for this game essentially all off season. Like, everything we've been doing is leading up to this point. They have their installs, the walkthroughs, and everything else in between. Like, those guys don't need to be there. It's a great opportunity for all the young guys and the practice squad guys and everyone else to get some extra reps and opportunities while they're, maintaining their body. A little maintenance. You know what I'm saying? I call it the D-Wade program.
Dog, we're gonna have the most extensive injury report every day, every week. So just get used to it. We have a bunch of vets that need vet rest. When you have a team with Jalen Ramsey, Jordan Poyer, Calais Campbell, T-Stead, you're gonna get vet rest. These guys don't need to practice. D-Hop went a whole season without practicing one practice and balled out. I'm not saying that we got, you know what I'm saying, but you got to respect what they're doing. And also, these injuries are not new. There's nothing new that they got hurt with. These are just injuries that they got in the beginning of training camp, actually, and they've been nursing and they've been fine. Jalen Ramsey, we've been talking about him for a minute now, and people think he's been practicing. So they just, once again, when Mag say they have a rep, section for everybody. Take it easy. Take it with a grain of salt. And do you need Jalen Ramsey for the Jaguars? No, you don't. You need him for the Bills. And mind you, we didn't have Jalen Ramsey the first 6 weeks last season. So what we talking about? The real injury you should be talking about is Brewer, and you should be happy that Brewer's out there because Brewer's going to probably start week 1. You should be happy. That's what you should be excited about. Your offensive line might be different. And Isaiah Wynn, there was an Isaiah Wynn sighting. You know what I mean? Our backups are even getting better. So it's too early to get so excited, man, or too down. I need to relax.
It's a long season, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. And shout out to Chris Kaufman on this one because there's a tweet he put out that was interesting in regards to the injury report. And I quote, on today's Dolphins injury report, 7 players had vet rest as either full or partial reasons for their practice. Now he checked last year's all of 18 practices for the week injury, and we had 0 vet rests. So he's seems like it's an insinuation that maybe something was said to the team and that they need to incorporate vet rest for the veterans. So it's an interesting post, something that maybe can calm the fans and kind of realizing, hey, we need to kind of put it out there so that those guys can rest. It's going to be a long season. They need that. And it's probably not a big deal. But I agree. It's specifically for Ramsey. If it's a hamstring injury, I think we have enough people to – I'm not trying to underrate the Jaguars, but I think we have enough people to kind of get through this game so we can prepare for the next game.
We have a good enough roster. We have enough depth.
Yeah.
What you should be happy about, Tyreek was, oh my God, something happened to Tyreek. He had a slinky on. He's not on. Jalen Waddle, oh my God, he's not on. Javon Holland, oh my God, he's not on. Like all these guys, if people are so quick to be negative and you don't realize the positive. Yo, we just saw an OBJ video. A man's doing squats and some gang stuff. And by the way, those that were saying he's away from the team and you didn't see him with the team, that was a team trainer. That was him and Tua with a handshake. These boys just messed. Even the camaraderie is up there. So
they're working.
Like, man, listen, week 5, he might not even need to play. Bro, imagine we're 4-0. You think we need OBJ for week 5? He might be just because he needs. There's some things that he needs to reach out from a player and all that good stuff for his contract and stuff like that. Maybe he'll be able to. He'll come back, but do you really need him? We never know. Man, we might have such a balanced offense with these guys that OBJ will be the sprinkle on the top of the ice cream.
We, as a team that's like last 2 seasons, the latter part of the season, we've been hampered by injuries, and that's kind of like been a part of what's derailed our success when we've been in a position to be at the number 1 or number 2 seed, win a division, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we've had all these injuries to and everyone else that's been banged up. Like, I don't see why everyone would be so up in arms about the cautious approach. You would think that everyone would embrace that. Like, hey, it's more so about December and January, because in September we're good. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Like there's nothing to really, you feel me?
We have an amazing record in September. Mike was 6-1 that season. We were 6-1 after that or something like that. We didn't even lose a game.
Yeah, 6-1. Yeah,
360. It's like 6-2 overall or something like that.
Yeah,
in the month of September.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, listen, man. A lot of people are not. People got to really look at the roster and kind of see like, hey, we should be all right. We got a lot of veterans, even in the practice squad. We got some people that can be elevated and give that veteran experience for us to hold. That's all we need, man. Guys doing their job, man. I understand Ramsey's the elite, the prolific cornerback that's gonna, be a part of carrying this team. But I think you can also win with guys who are veteran savvy and who give you the experience you need to get the job done, man. But appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, man. Y'all got any final thoughts before we head out?
One last thing on the Ramsey thing. If you elevate a Nick Needham and you have Ethan Bonner and these other guys that can help supplement that, even if he does play, you can still, maybe lower his snap count like you're doing with a Jalen Phillips and just allow for a little bit of a rotation, because I don't think you necessarily need him running down the field with the B2J who's going to be mostly spacing the field. I'd more so, if anything, I'd more so have him on a Christian Kirk and an Evan Ingram at times, even maybe in a little bit. But you have a Javon Holland who can do that. And I think Cater Kohu, if it's in the slot, I feel comfortable with Cater on whoever. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel really good about our pieces, and I get why everyone, you know, it's that's so Dolphins. We're always banged up and everything. So I get it, but like, calm on. It's a long season, bro. Like, don't get so up in arms about every piece of news every week. Let's wait for the whole story to play out, and let's be concerned, but let's be, you know, let's temper our emotions a little bit. We gotta stay a little even keel. We can't get too high, too low, bro. It's we just getting started, bro. People crashing out already.
And listen, your hypotheticals never really happen. Your manifestations rarely ever happen. So stop thinking it's gonna happen with the Dolphins. If it doesn't happen in your life, if you were able to manifest, you would have won the lotto. If you were able to have your hypotheticals would have happened, you would have been in the worst position ever, and you're not, because you're able to listen to us or complain to us in some type of social media. So relax, enjoy football. It's supposed to be a fun game. Even an injury happens or anything happens, something will get worked out, and you're gonna continue to breathe. Enjoy the Dolphins, please.
Yeah. This is where Weaver, this is where the other guys, the other personnel, this is where it all comes down to the offseason, where you're acquiring different people, acquiring the implementing the defense. This is where it comes to fruition. Your guy potentially might not be there. So what do you do? As a first-year head coach, as a guy like Nick Needham, Ethan Barner, what are you going to do? The opportunity is right there. If that's worse to happen, we don't know yet. It's still early. You got Thursday and Friday to determine whether any of those guys won't be playing. So I agree with everyone thoughts here. Appreciate. Yeah, I do. Well, guys, thank you again for tuning in. Please subscribe to all our platforms, bringing you heat for your head tops. And I want y'all to go to the store, look at the merch, some fire merch. So please go to the store.
Look out for the new merch. We got some new stuff coming out, man. We really excited. Y'all gonna like it, man.
Man. We got some appreciate good stuff. Y'all.
And Dundee, to your question really quick, I believe they can do everything but like on the field work, if I'm not mistaken, until they're actually activated from the pup. But then they have that window in which they can practice before they have to be a decision that needs to be made. Yeah. Right. So you see OBJ, you know, they're working out and everything, but I'm not sure that he can do any on the field work.
He can't do team drill.
That window approaches. Right. All right. Well, hey, we out.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks for the win, man.
Yes, sir.